Today, we are talking about winners and losers of the free agency period. We're only on day 2, but it feels like a lot of the major moves already happened.
It's over. All the big free agents already made
one
their
domino
decisions.
left. Domino. I think that's safe nicely.
I guess that's fair. We're talking about LeBron.
DeMar?
Oh, DeMar.
Respect
True.
Debo.
DeMar DeRozan.
DeMar definitely counts. I don't want to disrespect
Very
him.
good play.
That could be a Laker.
LeBron definitely. Goodness
Could be a Laker.
gracious. Yeah, let's get into these
I'd
winners
say
and
come
losers.
to Golden State. We need something, please.
Man,
Just come
Warriors fans and Lakers fans really are starting to sound the same at this point. Really, it's sad. We'll
You
we'll
guys
take
have at
anything
least you
at
guys
this
have
point.
2 stars.
That's true. What happened to Draymond, man?
He's not AD.
No, he's not.
You don't have to fool me there. Okay,
Kaminga?
there.
Leap?
Hey,
Year 4? 5? What year is this?
he had I would say he had a leap last year.
No, he did,
He
for
did.
sure.
He
We're
did.
saying another leap.
It's not an AD.
It was a
We're
Chris
cooked,
Paul
buddy.
effect. Chris Paul went there.
What?
That's the Chris Paul effect.
He got hurt. Kuminga got better.
You don't think that Chris Paul helps with mentorship, communicating on the
released.
bench?
He got released. It was that.
$30 million.
Money thing.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody paying Chris Paul 30. Be serious.
I don't know. Did Chris Paul help? Probably within the margins.
He's
I don't
never
know.
been a fan of Chris Paul.
I
been a fan
don't
of Chris
think
Paul.
that's true.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like that is true.
Nah, when he was on the Hornets, I was a big fan.
Okay, of course. That's when he had aura.
Now we're gonna go by these winners and losers. We're gonna go winners 1 through 5 and then losers 1 through 5 because there's 5 teams for each one. We could talk about the first team that
Obvious team.
everybody probably has at the top of their list. It's the Philadelphia 76ers signing Paul George, but that's not the only signing they made. They signed Andre Drummond, they signed Eric Gordon, and they re-signed Kelly
Oubre for the low.
Great deal.
That was really a great deal. Let's talk about the obvious. You bring in Paul George. You have a top 3, big 3 in the NBA. Now you go and you bring in Andre Drummond. You have a for sure solidified backup center. Andre Drummond, who was excellent last season. If you want to go and spook yourself out a little bit, go to PER and look at one of the league leaders. You'll see Andre Drummond's name there. But when we were talking about this yesterday, I said Kelly Oubre was excellent for them. If they could find a way to retain him, they definitely dodged a bullet with Tobias Harris taking a walk and going to Detroit. They were able to bring in they were able to bring in Kelly Oubre.
52.
I mean, an unbelievable day for the 76ers. They, on top of having a big 3, did a great job of solidifying a good all-around team at the same time. That shocked me, and I'm very impressed.
Yeah, that was our biggest concern because we saw $60 million in cap space. We heard the rumors about potentially getting Paul George and KCP, but the worry was how are you going to fill out the rest of this roster? They were able to bring in Paul George, and then they were able to bring in those role players. Andre Drummond is probably the best backup big they've had in the Joel Embiid era. So if he does go down,
He was on
of
the team
course,
before.
He was. Facts. That's facts. True. He's once again the best backup they have.
So fun fact, the Bulls, they could have traded him this past season to the Sixers for some second round picks.
That's why I'm done.
And they didn't trade him.
I mean, Chicago.
Glad you
Are we
said
really
that. Yeah,
surprised?
Chicago doing Chicago things.
So if Embiid misses time, you at least have a serviceable backup center. Of course, he's not Joel Embiid, but he's, again, one of the better backups in the league. Kelly Oubre was phenomenal for them. And of course, Paul George. That's the biggest piece. They form one of the better big 3s in the NBA, and they're going to be going head-to-head with the New York Knicks, with the Boston Celtics, and with the Milwaukee Bucks for the top 4 teams in the East.
You can't deny that this was a great move. It was a great move.
But are you in on it?
I'm not in on it because they are unable to fill out the roster right now.
Yeah.
This depth is concerning for me. I don't go into any playoff series as it currently stands with that team and say that depth is good enough to win the conference.
But to be fair, they still have all their draft picks.
Yes.
Right? They still have some exceptions, I believe, because I don't think they're over like a first or second ape or anything. So the roster is not complete.
It's not complete. They can still add some impact players. You are right there. But with the Sixers, it's hard for me to buy in on a team when 2 of the top 3 guys have a history of being unavailable, whether it's by injury or by their performance in big-time games. Joel Embiid has a long history of that, even though this year he washed away some of those notions against them with a great series against the Knicks. But Paul George has a history of no showing in the playoffs, even though, to his credit and respect, he led the Clippers to the West Conference Finals in 2021. So he's had his shining moment. But still, overall, I don't like the consistency of the group. Tyrese Maxey is really the only guy I trust. I think this was a no-brainer move, though, because you always have to maximize your talent. But to me, this feels more like a 2-3 year window than it does going all in this year to try to load up and be the best team. If it happens, it's great, but they need time to build out this roster around these 3 guys. But I think that the fit is seamless.
Definitely winners. Shout out to Philly. We're here. You know, it's great to be a Philly fan. I've been here for a while. But yeah, getting Paul George for that deal. You know, you had them, you had the Magic, you had the Clippers and the Warriors kind of in the hut. Just getting somebody who can play off Embiid is dope. You know, he's still a really good defender, still one of the best shooters in the league. And then being able to get Maxey, bringing back Kelly, I think that's good. I'm with you, Joel, on the filling out the roster part. I do think outside of those 6 guys, I think you need a little bit more, especially with the Knicks. They are 8-9 deep. Boston's about 7-8 deep. You know, you need a couple more guys in that rotation. But I think I'm fine with Paul George as a number 3, number 2 option. I think the tricky part becomes when he becomes a number 1. I think at this point in his career, the last 3 years, I don't think he can do that. But I'm fine with him playing off Joel Embiid, you know, playing off Tyrese Maxey if need be. Like, I think that's kind of the perfect role he's in. I don't know if this is a 2-3 year window because he is 33, 34 years old.
He's getting up there.
Embiid, with his injury concern, you don't know how he's going to look in 2 to 3 years. So, Morey, you have to kind of maximize what they have now, do whatever you can to make this team as good as possible. But winners of free agency, they did a great job of bringing in star talent.
The next one that we're going to talk about is the Dallas Mavericks. Now, they had an excellent free agency. It's very hard.
Are they winners?
It's very hard for a team to make the NBA Finals and get better, and that's what they did. Derrick Jones Jr. was a soldier that was lost to battle. It's unfortunate, but he paid his dues. He was in the service. He did his job. You replace him with Najee Marshall, not the same level of defender at the point of attack, but it's not a massive downgrade. But you got to upgrade in his shooting because this past year he shot very well from 3 with the Pelicans.
Is it real?
I think
because I remember you told us Denny
between.
Avdia was kind of like, we got to see it again.
You know what? I'm so glad that he's pressing you on
If
this.
you think that Denny Avdia is real,
I just want to make sure we're all the same.
I'm here with it.
You didn't
We're
think Denny
both
was real.
great shooters.
All right.
I just needed.
Still not better than Josh Hart. Josh Hart averaged 15, 12, and 5 in the playoffs. So I'm still, because you say he's better than Josh Hart. That's all I argued about. That's the only thing that gave me a gripe.
I'm cool on that too.
When it came to Denny Avdia.
We'll see when Denny's in a better role. You know,
Tim Hardaway Jr. now gets replaced by Klay Thompson, and I think it's just a change of philosophy for the Dallas Mavericks. They're a very isocentric offense, but I think they have made strides to get more movement within their offense, and Klay Thompson now helps that. But also, Klay Thompson's legs stay fresher if he's just standing in the corner or moving around the three-point line. He's not exerting as much energy. He is not the same level of defender he once was, but I don't think he's an atrocity. I think he can still hold his own some nights, some matchups, and contest well because he has a lot of size. He's 6'7". And then Josh Green, he goes to the Hornets in the sign and trade deal with Klay, but you get Quentin Grimes. And that's a player you're taking a flyer on. If he goes back to what he was on the Knicks 2 years ago, then that's great. But I feel like they upgraded in 3 spots, and this team got better. They lost some defense, but I think it made up for it because they got a major boost in offense with Klay.
I won't disagree there. They needed some shooting. We saw them struggle with it in the Western Conference Finals and, more importantly, in the finals. You go and you add Klay Thompson, Marshall. We'll see if it continues and translates over to the next year. But bringing in Quentin Grimes, to me, this is a big X factor because defensively, we know how awesome he was in New York. But this past season, fell off. And in jump shooting, completely fell off. If he can get back to 2 years ago, Quentin Grimes, where you know he's going to bring that level of intensity on the defensive side, are you going to knock down your open looks? That's the essential part when you're playing next to Luka and Kyrie Irving. We saw that be a big detriment of theirs against the Boston Celtics when PJ and Derrick Jones Jr. weren't hitting their open shots. You can anticipate that Klay Thompson will hit a majority of his open looks, but is he going to start to get a little bit trigger happy, take shots that aren't the best when we saw a lot of that this past season with Golden State? I do think that they upgraded, but their main strength was defense. And like you said, it did take a hit.
Yeah, I think Derrick Jones Jr. and Najee Marshall, I think they kind of cancel out. I do think you're getting a bit stronger with Najee Marshall. You know, Derrick Jones Jr. is a bit lighter. I do think he's a bit more quicker on his feet. But there might be a bit of overlap there with PJ and Najee in terms of guys you want to defend. With Derrick Jones Jr., I feel like maybe he was just a bit quicker if you want to have him guard the opposing team's guard. Mm-hmm. But Klay Thompson over Tim Hardaway, that's a huge upgrade. Easily. Tim Hardaway was unplayable in the finals. I know he did get sunburned, but for the first couple games of that series, he wasn't getting any minutes, and throughout the playoffs, his play time was really sporadic. You know, the trust there with Jason Kidd wasn't 100% there. Klay Thompson's a dude we know, 4 rings. He's been in big games. He's hit big shots, and it's a similar role in terms of you got Luka next to you, you got Kyrie. You're not going to be asked to do anything more than we know what you can do. That's going to be hit threes and hit open threes because, as you mentioned, Drew, that was the biggest issue they had. Derrick Jones Jr., PJ Washington, they weren't able to hit their open looks. And although Klay Thompson, you could talk about the 0 for 10 in the playing game, You could talk about his regression on defense. I think both of those things are true and fair in terms of the player he is today.
Yeah.
I still think you're going to trust him more in the playoffs in those big moments over a guy like Tim Hardaway.
I think for me, first to start, Dallas definitely winners. They upgraded at every position. I do think QG provides a little bit more in the perimeter in terms of defense.
Definitely.
They do lose their POA. I think Derrick Jones Jr. out the four is the best POA defender. But, you're getting some size, some physicality. You're getting a little bit more shooting. With Clay, for me, it's just about if he changes philosophy. He's been in that Golden State system his whole career, going from Mark Jackson to Steve Kerr, a lot of off-ball movements, pin downs. It's just different than when Dallas has run. Like last year, I feel like last 3 years, he's been in the role as a number 2. Now you're being slotted to the 3, sometimes the 4. So I guess that eases off on offense, helps your legs. But is Clay going to be able to adjust on offense, or is the kid going to adjust to Clay? That's what I'm interested to look at. But in just terms of upgrading, I do think they upgraded Clay. QG, if he can get back 2 years ago, Najee Harris is a solid role player.
Yeah.
Najee Marshall, pardon me, he's a solid role player. Those are the 3 guys you wanted. You did a good job. It's just about now, can they hit open shots? QG, he was dealing with a lot of injuries last year.
True.
So that did mess up his form, did mess up the defense, but I do think he can get back to that. So I give Dallas an A+. They were winners in this draft.
And Klay Thompson had 4 offers on the table, decided to take a pay cut to play with Luka
Taxes.
Doncic and Kyrie Irving.
It was taxes.
It was also a pay. It was also
Him
a pay
saying
cut.
that, he spit.
No,
It was taxes too, but also a pay cut.
You saw the
It
report
was
they
taxes.
wanted to have AirPods start and have Clay come off the bench going into next season.
Because KCP just got $22 million a year with Orlando.
Clay had $248 on the table.
I know, but
from Golden State.
KCP took a $16.5 million deal from Dallas, 3-year deal.
Orlando, taxes.
Took a pay cut.
Taxes.
Florida
No
don't
taxes.
have that much
That's what I'm
taxes.
saying.
No, Florida's good,
sure.
yeah.
You're right,
Taxes,
yeah.
yeah.
Klay Thompson, he want to play with them dogs in Dallas.
The Lakers offered him $480.
I'm angry, man. We tried to give him.
Yeah, I mean,
State
California
taxes are high.
taxes. That's,
Oh, no, no,
that's
no.
basically
That's what-
440.
That's what he's saying, and
Yeah, no.
honestly, it's pretty accurate.
It is. Now, Dallas beat this next team we're about to talk about
Yes.
in the playoffs in the second round. The OKC Thunder, very young team.
We here.
The only reason this team is not higher, or we didn't talk about them first, is because PG went to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Other than that, this team to me is right there, number 2 best moves made in free agency.
They might have the most impactful ones. We talk about a lot with stars, with Paul George, Klay Thompson, and players that deserve their respect. They've accomplished a lot in the league. But when you look at the moves that are made every year, it's really those moves on a margin that help propel teams into championship contenders.
Definitely.
And OKC just added Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein. They gave Isaiah Hartenstein an offer that he could not refuse. He's getting paid $30 million annually this upcoming season. That's more than Jalen Brunson, who just dropped 32 a night in the playoffs with the Knicks. But adding that size to OKC.
I'm glad he let him know, because everyone should know. Good.
Adding that size to OKC, elite rebounder, elite defender, very good passer, great finisher. I don't think it takes away from Chet, but I also believe it gives them versatility. They can go 5 out in certain spurts in a game. They can also play big if they need to. It gives them ultimate versatility. And top to bottom, this is the most talented team in the West. The next question for them is, can Chet, can J-Dub, can they take that next step in their game and be more ready for a playoff moment? Because this past year, they were not.
And they were able to retain some role players. Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, that was huge for them, getting them on really nice team-friendly contracts. But the big moves, you bring in Alex Caruso. To me, obviously, that's a home run. If you guys have listened to me talk, you know my opinion on Alex Caruso. I think he's the best perimeter defender in the game right now. And then you pair that with the fact that you did just overpay Isaiah Hartenstein, but it was a good overpay in my opinion, because they desperately needed rebounding, but they also needed another interior presence. And that's exactly what Isaiah is going to give you. He was excellent defensively this past season. Really, one of the main reasons why the Knicks were able to go on such a great run was because of how sound he was on the defensive side of the ball. But now, I agree with everything you're saying. It's not a huge deal that he can't overly space the floor, because he's a great connector. He still has great touch around the rim. That's really all you can ask for. $30 million can seem like a lot. I know the money was a lot for the fact of he even with how much money he was getting off from OKC, he was considering staying with the New York Knicks, but it was hard to turn down $30 million. I don't blame him. I think OKC most definitely won.
Yeah, and they also brought back some of the role players. Isaiah Joe got an extension. Aaron Wiggins got an extension. I think the best part here is they're not speeding up their timeline. Trading for Caruso, sign Hartenstein. this isn't this huge home run swing to go get a guy like Kevin Durant, for example, when now all of a sudden you have like a 2-year window to win. Right now, Hartenstein, you brought in with cap space. Caruso, it took Josh Giddey, a guy who wasn't even in the playoff rotation, or at least his minutes were drastically reduced and he was taken out of the starting lineup. And it gives you, as Joel mentioned, versatility. Because when you're going up against a team like potentially the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Denver Nuggets, those lineups are going to look different than if you go up against the Dallas Mavericks, for example. So the fact that you have the ability to have Chet play the 4 or the 5, then you could have Hartenstein come off the bench or start. And we know one thing, Hartenstein, there's no ego there. He doesn't need to have 30 touches a night on offense. He doesn't need to score 20 points. He's going to do the dirty work. He's going to rebound. He's going to defend. He's going to do everything you want him to do. And SGA and J-Dub and Chet and all of these guys, all the shooters they have, it's not going to impact them and their touches. So I thought OKC did a great job.
Yeah, they did their thing. Hartenstein brings a different element to the game. For them especially, they didn't have that type of big man in Chet. Chet is more of a 5-out big. Hartenstein's more down low, has a little post hook shot. You know, he is a good rebounder. He's a good defender. No, it's money. It's cash. It's money. And then bringing in Caruso, which you didn't really need him, but it was just a plus just to bring him in. The experience, the defense. It's really just about how Mark can change up his philosophies, how he can integrate Hartenstein into the offensive game with SGA and stuff like that. But, you know, OKC did their thing.
We have the Celtics as a 4th winner up here.
No
really,
clue
because
why.
they re-signed their guys. Tatum got a $300 million contract, highest paid player in NBA history, now the largest contract.
What happened the last time we made someone the highest paid player
You
in
lost
the
to
NBA?
the Heat.
No, that's not true. They just want Jaylen Brown.
He got paid last summer?
Yes, last summer.
He did
What
after
happened?
they
Finals
lost.
MVP.
Yeah, you're right. They paid Jason Tatum.
So
they
paid Tatum when
re-signed
he didn't
Derek
win the
White.
Finals MVP?
They kept their core together.
They paid Jaylen Brown when he had his worst series of his career.
You guys
You're
just
right.
do
No,
things
he
backwards.
is right. He's right.
Okay.
He is
I
right.
like that.
It backwards, but they got rewarded. They won a championship this upcoming season. You got to respect that. You know, I'm here for you.
They
Respect.
felt more comfortable paying Jaylen Brown before Jason Tatum too. You ever think about that? I know. It's talking garbage.
But I think the biggest
I can't believe they're winners. But
the biggest contract is Derek White, because I think
really
Derek
why.
White on the open market potentially next year. The OG Anunoby 5 years, $200 million is in the realm of outcomes. The $40 million a year for a guy like Derek White from a team that has a ton of cap space or a team that's looking for a sign and trade, that was potentially on the table. The fact that Derek White was able to take this contract, he's making around 31 million annually. I think this is going to go down as one of the better contracts in the NBA.
You know, Dels, I was thinking about it. You know, for a team that's so over the second apron, there should be some punishments. They got to trade Drew Holiday, Derek White.
Here's the punishment.
You're forced to-
No, here's the
you're forced to
punishment.
trade one of them. You got to trade one of
Are
them.
you ready for the punishment?
It'll happen.
Their owner is so caught up in all these contracts, he said, "Hey, it's time to sell."
I hope the new owner comes in and just blows it.
That's what Mikey said too. Mikey was like, the new owner's not going to go for this. But no, Wick, who's the current majority owner, is going to have control of the team through 2028.
You guys think OG would have got 41 on the open market?
Yes,
Like any other team would have gave him 41?
probably.
If there's a bidding war for him, the thing is that with Derek White, there's not going to be a bidding war for a guard.
I think it's a little
wing.
different.
I don't know. He can do everything.
He can.
He literally can do everything.
We'll talk
I
about
don't
the
know if
Orlando
OG would have got 41 somewhere
Magic
else.
next, because the Magic, they actually made a signing that like a player wasn't on their team and they brought him in.
Correct.
That was KCP, getting
it
him
was.
from the
Dope.
Denver Nuggets. And I
Two-time champ.
feel like we're all high on this move. It fits Orlando perfectly.
KCP was the best available role player, in my opinion, over a Klay Thompson. He can do everything that you would want in a role player. 3-and-D, obviously can stretch the floor. Wasn't the best in the playoffs, but in the regular season, shot a career high in true shooting percentage, 60%. In the postseason, his 3-point percentage was around 32. His true shooting percentage was 52, if I'm not mistaken.
It was rough.
But defensively, he is going to fit that culture perfectly sound. What they've needed desperately was 3-point shooting, and they're getting exactly that in KCP. I thought it was a home run.
Very similar to Caruso to OKC. I think this is a guy that you could just put in the lineup. He's not going to impact too much offensively in terms of you want Paolo to get touches, you want Franz to get touches. So I think this is a great move. And the other part of it is when we were discussing potential suitors for the Magic, we were all looking for guards. We were all looking really for point guards, someone that could potentially shoot the three, handle the ball. Anthony Simons was a guy that came up a lot. Trae Young was a guy that came up a lot. But getting KCP, the defensive identity is still there. This was a top 3 defense last year. This is a dude that we know is one of the best POA defenders in the NBA. He's still listed as a guard, but he's still like 6'6", so he's got some size, he's got some length. It fits into exactly what the Magic are doing. This is a team that can sneaky be a top 4 seed next year, in my opinion. If Milwaukee falls off, if something happens, if there's an injury to Philly, this is a team that I think is just about ready to take a leap in the East.
Keep going, Riv. You could piggyback on
Okay,
that.
I will piggyback off that. KCP, good pickup. Y'all know how I feel about the Orlando Magic. You know, I'm pretty high on them. They're gonna get internally better. The same thing like OKC. They're gonna rely on those guys and Paolo and Wagner. Those are the guys. Jalen Suggs that they're gonna rely on. So who can you bring in to complement them? And I think KCP is the perfect swing
No
guy
one
for
better.
that. I think you can plug him in, honestly, any system in the NBA,
Definitely.
and he'll be perfect. Come in, hit the 3-ball, defend at a high level, get in the lanes, deflect passes. Like, that's the type of player he is. So I think for them, getting him was dope.
For the losers, we can bracket these three teams in one group.
Okay.
Because they were all teams that needed to make a move. Number one, the first loser, you have up here, Drew.
Golden State Warriors.
The Golden State
Have to be
Warriors.
here.
We didn't get
The
PG, we lost.
Lakers are the second loser.
Definitely have to be.
And
here.
then you have the Nuggets as the third loser.
You can argue the biggest loser of them all, the Denver Nuggets, for the fact of they have a top 1 player in the world in Nikola Jokic.
You
He's the
guys
best
have two
player in
top
the
10
league.
players.
Don't disagree. That being said, this is the Nuggets' time to dominate. We all came into last season, even while the season was going on, the Nuggets are still our favorites. Even with the Boston Celtics having a historic season, we took our gamble on Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets because we know that in clutch situations, or we thought at least in clutch situation, no team was better. We saw them fold up against the Minnesota Timberwolves, lose that game and lose that series in 7 after being up double digits in the first half. The Denver Nuggets' time to dominate the league is now. And this offseason, they've done absolutely zero to benefit Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. And truthfully, it is irresponsible. The Denver Nuggets have to be a lot better than what they've
They're just
done.
in cap hell at the moment. You know,
They
they
are.
can't really make it, and it's why the new CBA sucks because they don't have any wiggle room to really make too many moves. You know, and they're already not this big insane market. You know, they're not New York, they're not Boston, they're not Miami. Like, they're not these type of markets. So it's already
true.
a little bit the room for error is small with them. And, you know, losing KCP is tough. I saw their owner, their GM, talk about how we have Christian Brown and stuff. They'll be able to fill in. I don't know.
Brown can.
If I see Christian
To
Brown
KCP,
start at the 2,
I don't know.
Is he going
I'll
to
be-
start at the 2?
Christian Brown,
Right now, he's slated to start the 2.
He is. Christian Brown just shot 37% from 3. We know how athletic he is.
Very
He can
small
guard.
sample
He can
size.
guard.
The playoffs is more important
to
for
go
sure.
from
I
the
know,
bench
I
to
understand.
starting lineup on a championship caliber team.
No, I
That's a
understand.
big ask.
It is a big ask. That's why I think we all have Denver as losers here. Golden State, I feel some sympathy for.
You know
it's,
what?
It's not for.
appreciate
It's
that.
not
I
for
do
a
not
lack of
feel. I
trying.
don't feel an ounce.
Of course
It's
you don't.
not
We
for
beat
a
you
lack
though.
of
Not
trying.
even a little
They
bit.
tried to trade for Paul George.
did
They
try.
sent a great
Shout out
offer
to Mike
to the
Dunleavy.
Clippers.
Great offer.
They got Jonathan
It was
Kuminga.
respectable.
It was
actually.
Wiggins.
respectable.
It was
Very
a
It was
good
only
offer.
good when they
The
was
fact,
getting.
was there any other offer on the table?
No.
Yeah, they was getting.
Can you
nothing.
believe that the Clippers really said
could've started
we
over.
want nothing?
could've
We
started
would
over,
rather
man.
nothing than trade him to Golden State.
That's
The
crazy.
Warriors tried.
What
How
am I
do you
chip
feel
with him,
about
so
that?
who
The Warriors actually tried and failed.
Shout out to Mike Dunleavy because he is trying. He is, and that's all I've been asking for in this late Steph Kobe like era. That at least try to put some players, some good pieces around Steph. Let him get an opportunity to go into the playoffs and have a fighting chance. And Mike Dunleavy did try that. He tried to get Paul George. The rumors were swirling. It really was looking like Paul George was going to be a Warrior, and then unfortunately the Clippers said, "Nah, we're not really trying to do that."
Played y'all.
So we have pivoted to other things. We are
Laurie.
currently looking for Laurie and Zach
we go.
LaVine.
Zach
So
LaVine's
I like
nuts.
Dunleavy's aggressiveness, and I commend him for that.
What were your
but
thoughts
yeah.
on you guys got offered, or you offered, what was it, Chris Paul and Andrew Wiggins for Zach LaVine, and you guys declined?
We declined.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
They're still
I don't know
hoping
if
that
that's
Wiggins
terrible.
can get back to 2022.
I think Wiggins is probably just as impactful as like Zach LaVine.
After this past season, I don't know if I
is
can feel
wrong
that
with
great
you?
about
But there's nothing's wrong with me.
Why do you
I
say
watched
that?
Andrew Wiggins be the
I
second
think,
best
I
player
think
championship
the
team.
Warriors
You love to say
needed
that.
the Warriors need an offensive punch, and although I'm not the biggest Zach LaVine fan, that's one thing he's going to give you.
They forget that Zach LaVine is
It's like
amazing
it's
on
insane
offense.
how we just do things
He's
like this.
amazing on offense.
I think we do have to recognize that the Lakers, their one big move was re-signing Max Christie, right? That's all you guys did.
How
Truthfully,
many minutes
that
did he
is
play
it.
last year? Did he
No,
play like
not
10
that.
minutes
Not that.
a
Well,
night?
it depends. He
Brother,
went
he
on
didn't play.
stretch. He went on
Like,
stretches
like,
where he
you're
played a
about to
good
go,
amount, but
he
then
didn't
Darvin
play.
lost a lot of trust in him, and that kind of
Warriors
stung.
32.
Losing trust from Darvin is nuts.
However, Lakers' big move this offseason so far, the bright spots.
JJ Redick.
Bronny James.
Dalton Connect, Bronny James, and JJ Redick. That has been it. It is so sad to the point where LeBron James said, I will take a pay cut. And maybe he was BSing. Maybe he was just trying to look
He did
good.
opt out.
I don't know. He called Clay 6 o'clock yesterday.
Allegedly, that's a rumor. But it also is a rumor that he was willing to take a pay cut. The fact that that report came out and the Lakers still signed no one, it's really telling on either LeBron James or the front office. And by LeBron James, I really mean the Lakers team as a whole. Do free agents look at the Lakers' destination as a legitimate chance to compete and win a championship? And right now, the writing's on the wall. I mean, the players have shown us. The answer is no. They don't feel like the Lakers can contend. So it's really double unfortunate that LeBron really tried to put himself out there to get talent because he knows how terrible the cap situation is for the Lakers. Yeah. But now we're in a similar boat as them. We're going to have to be active on the trade market. Of course, I want Lauri Markkanen. If we're going to strike out on Lauri, I would love Walker Kessler. But again, I'm not holding my breath on it. We don't have that great of assets. Neither do the Warriors.
Brother, I'm gonna listen, man. When I tweeted Paul George is a Warrior, I thought it was
more
real.
to offer.
To be fair, there was a lot going in that direction to maybe make Paul George.
A couple young players got some more draft picks.
No, the momentum was heating
I don't
up.
want to hear the couple young. No, because Pods and Kuminga.
Kuminga.
Okay, I was gonna say.
Brother, what's wrong?
Pods
This
is
guy's
good.
a hater.
I like
Kuminga, Trey Jackson-Davis.
He's throwing
Moody.
garbage trades on Twitter.
I mean, you have Gabe
wrong.
Vincent in trade offers,
Agreed.
bro.
You're right. I'm not. Listen, maybe I am hating. Maybe I'm envious that I
You're
wish
just
I had
upset
young
because we were
players.
there.
You want to know who my young player actually would be that is honestly untouchable for the Lakers? Austin Reeves. That is our best player.
That's
that we
like
can
25, 26.
Embarrassing? Calm down.
That's embarrassing.
Calm down. Austin Reeves is him.
This is your losers list, Drew, and the fourth loser you have up here is the New York Knicks.
This was more so for conversational purposes.
You guys did overpay for Mikal Bridges.
I'm fine to have this put on my name for the idea that here's the truth. I don't know if I would say they overpaid for Mikal because you have to look in the lens of they traded for Mikal and OG, who OG was on an expiring contract. This is an all-in move on the wing duo.
They're bringing back OG regardless.
Yeah, wait, what? That doesn't.
But mostly because they got OG for the low. They gave up a first-round pick. They gave up Emmanuel Quickly, who really wasn't going to grow with the New York Knicks.
That wasn't your tone of voice when they first made that trade.
Doesn't he get paid more than both of them combined?
Well, who?
IQ.
OG?
Then who? RJ and
yeah.
Why are they
which makes
losers,
sense.
though?
You lose Hartenstein. Now you have to rely on Mitchell Robinson as your big, who when he is healthy, he's an awesome option. He's super unreliable. Julius Randle is a great, obvious number two-time All-NBA player. Can you trust him in playoff minutes?
We got to figure that out.
You paid a lot of money for OG Anunoby, and I'm fine with that for the idea that you guys barely lost basketball games when he did play, but he also does have an injury-prone tag to him also. The foundation for the Knicks is very firm, and you guys should definitely be excited. You guys are contenders, for lack of a better term, even though I think that the Boston Celtics are just overwhelmingly the favorites. I look at you guys as losers because you lose a pillar on defense in Isaiah Hartenstein, and you paid a lot of money for a necessity, which is fair. A strong need is wing depth. You have Mikal and you have OG, arguably the best defensive duo on the wings. You paid a lot for it, and you really have to hope that OG stays healthy.
The new CBA is pretty ridiculous. Malik Monk, he was able to only get offered $17 million a year. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Hartenstein. Because we had him on a really low contract, we could only give him so much of a raise, but another team could swoop in and give him $30 million. It makes no sense. It makes zero sense. The Knicks wanted to keep Isaiah Hartenstein. I understand if you think they're losers, but we got Mikal Bridges. I think that in itself... What's that face you're making? You better not disrespect Mikal Bridges.
Mikal and OG defensively.
I didn't say anything.
If you better not respect. I seen your face.
If you made a face, I'm gonna trust him.
Respect Mikal Bridges.
I did.
And you
but
better
you know why?
respect Mikal
But you know
Bridges.
why I made a face?
Please.
You know, because he made a face first and looked at me. That's why I made my face. Because he looked at me. I'm like,
nothing to explain. Mikal Bridges is a great
There
pickup.
was nothing to explain. The Knicks, I understand why I got them as losers. Losing Isaiah Hartenstein's a big loss. This last team, the LA Clippers, and I think it's obvious because they lost Paul George.
Yes. Yep. You lose Paul George, and now we should have spoken about that as to why OKC was double winners for the idea that now you just completely won that trade.
Which is worse, the Nets trade with the Celtics or that trade with the Thunder?
Right now, it's the Nets trade.
But if the Thunder end up winning championship next 2 or 3 years.
they're washed. It goes.
Because they got J-Dub and SGA plus a boatload of picks.
I'm going to... I don't know, man. They gave you guys Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
Sure. I will say this. At least the Clippers are trying to do something when it comes to being competitive.